Nothing makes me happier. Just nothing makes me happier than getting to put on, somebody else's life for a play or a show or something, and getting to play with actors on set and being a part of that process.
All right, you're listening to HawkeTalk. I'm here today with Adam Rose. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you, Eric?
Good. Thanks for being on here. So I just assume, like, the day you're born, you pop out, you don't say anything, but you have an incredible reaction that is palpable in the room, right? Like, that's just how this started. And then you're like, oh, that's my thing. I'm from then on out, it was just reactions. Fair?
Yeah, I was mute for a very long time.
Did you have a cup of coffee in the delivery room?
I had a cup of coffee and a cardigan. I was born with the cardigan on. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So let's take it back. Where are you from originally?
Well, I was born in Jerusalem and I grew up in New York City. Mm-hmm. And I moved out to LA when I was 18, right after high school.
Okay. And so grew up in New York City.
Grew up in New York City.
And were you, I guess growing up, were you into the arts, into theater, into acting? Like, tell me more about the childhood side of things.
Yeah, I was doing it pretty young. I think even when I was like 5 or 6, I was doing the school plays. My brothers were sort of in the school plays already in elementary school. They're 5 and 7 years older. So they were already like getting the leads and stuff. Yeah. And so I was immediately interested. But then when I was 7 or 8, my brother got picked up off the street by a producer who was like, you should come audition for some commercial. He went audition for the commercial, did not book it, but kind of liked what he was doing. And then someone in our building, in the building that I grew up in, was like, hey, I know a talent manager and you should take Gabe, my brother, to meet her. And I heard about that and I was like begging to go. And I was like, I just want to see what they do there. Like, I won't say anything. And then I went and wouldn't shut up the entire time. And she ended up signing us both to 4-year contracts to start auditioning and working. And
how old you were at that point?
I was 8.
You were 8.
I was 8. And I booked my first job when I was 9. And then my brother was doing it for a little while, but he sort of wasn't crazy about it. And I just kept going. And
so were your parents in the arts, or like, what were their stories?
My mom was an opera singer.
Okay.
That wasn't her profession.
Yeah.
It was her pursuit. And she did perform quite a bit around New York City and around the world. Mm-hmm. But, both my parents worked 2 jobs each, and they were also the superintendents of the building I grew up in. So,
And what kind of jobs were they working with? What did you just more about what you experienced growing up?
Yeah, my mom did a number of things. She, helped clean the building, and we all kind of took out the trash of the building, and put it out on the sidewalk. My mom was teaching piano. She was singing. She was eventually got into real estate and was doing that for a while. Mm-hmm. So, a number of things, anything to make a buck, basically.
And growing up, were you, obviously you were doing this. Did it feel from that 8-year-old point, like, oh, this might be something I'll do the rest of my life? I know that's ridiculous when you look in hindsight, but it was, yeah.
No, not at all. I literally never thought about doing anything else.
Yeah.
Like as soon as that became my pursuit, it all was just like, okay, I can see the next 50 years for myself.
Really cool. And so before that, were there any other things like I want to be a fighter pilot or a fireman or all, the young kids things? It was just all like by the time you wanted to work, it was, yeah. Yeah.
By the time I knew about getting on stage and doing that was pretty much it for me.
And did that come from just seeing your older brothers do it? Like that's where it originated, or was there anything before that?
I'm sure that had something to do with it. And then, I was addicted to TV and movies. I watched because my parents were working all the time. I wasn't like a popular kid, especially in elementary school. So it wasn't like I had a ton of friends to hang out with all the time. So I really got real close to the TV, and I was just, my dad had the black box in New York where, like, I guess because we were the superintendents, he got the cable guy to like hook us up with the black box. And that meant that we could get every channel for free.
Yeah.
And which is probably illegal, but it happened.
Maybe. I mean, if the cable guy let you do it.
Yeah. But one of the things that gave us was there were 4 pay-per-view channels, and we got those for free too.
That's
so
awesome.
New movies would come out and it would just play over and over again on these channels for like a week. And so
you had Netflix before anyone else did?
I kind of did. Yeah. And I was, I'd find one of the movies that I liked and I would watch it 100 times.
Nice.
And so that just became my whole world.
And when you to watch it 100 times, then it's obvious, like the story, you knew the story after the first time. So did you have a fascination with the acting, or was there something else, or was it just you loved hearing it over and over again?
I loved the acting. I think kids love watching the same things over and over again because it sort of like gives you a comfort, a predictability of some sort. Yeah. And then, I started getting really into learning how movies are made because I kind of saw it firsthand by the time I was 9 years old. And, there were shows like on Discovery. I don't know if you remember this, but like on Discovery Channel, there was like a movie magic kind of show, and it would take you behind the scenes of Jurassic Park and these movies and show you like the animatronic machines that they're using, or the miniatures and the special effects and the green screen. And I was fascinated with that stuff.
I remember watching that. I think it was Jurassic Park and Titanic were the two I remember. Yeah. And so again, you get this gig at 9 years old, and then from there, did it just open up? Were you just consistently working while going to school, or how did it kind of progress from there?
Pretty much working. I got a cartoon pretty early on.
Oh.
And
which one?
It was called PB&J Otter.
Yeah.
It was on the Disney Channel, and I played Peanut, and I did the voice of Peanut for 3 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And was there like, and I'm always curious about this, like being having that young entertainment success, did you go to school and everyone's like, oh my God, you're Peanut? Like, and like they would, like, was it a thing? I remember, what's his name? Johnny Tsunami went to the next high school to mine in Ojai.
That's funny.
And like he would show up at like our middle school parties and everyone would be like, oh my God, that's Johnny Tsunami.
I think if it's your face on TV, it's a much different experience. But because it was my voice, it was like people just didn't really understand. Yeah. Like they didn't really get it. I didn't really talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of school because I was like auditioning or working on different things and stuff. So like, I didn't really get a lot of that kind of special treatment. When I was not in school, at least.
And when did you start the PB&J Otter?
Started that at 9 years old.
Oh, so okay. That wasn't the first gig though, right?
It wasn't my first gig. My first gig ever. I mean, I always talk about my first gig being Deconstructing Harry, which was a Woody Allen movie. I played Robin Williams' son. And that was an incredible experience. Obviously, Robin Williams is like my hero. But I found out that I booked that gig on a day that I was doing a very small job that was actually my technical first job, which was I appeared in like 2 seconds of a music video. And it was the music video for a song called Love Fool from that movie, Romeo and Juliet. Love me,
Cardigans,
say. The Cardigans.
Yeah.
Which is, I remember when I put that together and oh my God, my whole life kind of came full circle in that moment.
So you didn't have a memory of that till later when you were reminded?
It wasn't until things started popping off on TikTok and like the cardigan guy had become like a thing that I made that connection at some point. And I was like, oh my God, that band was called The Cardigans. Like cardigans have just been a big part of my life for a long time.
Who would have known? And
it's so really strange.
And so they just saw your face on the music video and went, we need to get that kid for.
No, it was just, I was shooting that music video and it was that day that I got the call that I got this role. Yeah. I had auditioned for like a bigger role in the movie to play Woody Allen's son. Mm-hmm. Didn't end up booking that, but got this smaller role, but it was to play Robin Williams' son, which I was like over the moon about. Yeah. And then working with him was just one of the best experiences of my life, you know?
That's amazing. And so what did you have acting classes and things going on, or was it just like at that age, like how do I put it? How like strict are they about are they just looking for the person that kind of fits the personality, or are they looking for like a highly skilled 9-year-old?
It depends what it's for, you know, like for the music video, they basically just took a Polaroid of me and they were like, that kid, you know? Yeah. But, you know, for Deconstructing Harry, I had to audition once and then I had to go in again for the director and I had to read with him. And, you know, they're probably looking for a certain quality, but then they're also looking for somebody who can like deliver on the day and take direction and know what they're doing. And so it really depends on what the job is, what the role is, how demanding it is. But listen, I mean, by the time I was 11 or 12, you know, I started doing theater, like off-Broadway theater. And that's like, I was 11. I was 11 when I started doing that. And
what was your first play?
It was a play called The Gathering. Mm-hmm. And it was a small play off-Broadway. I was actually replacing Jesse Eisenberg in the play. Yep. He was coming out here to LA to do a show that called Get Real, and they needed to replace him. And so I replaced him and he ended up like working closely with me to kind of hand off the role for a few months. And then we ended up working together again years later in Squid and the Whale. I played his best friend in Squid and the Whale. And so that was the first play I did. And I ended up doing 3 different productions of that play in New York. Then we went to Florida, and then we did a pre-Broadway tour all around America.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so did it go from doing the Otter show to off-Broadway and doing plays for a little while?
Yeah, I was doing both.
You're doing both.
Okay. Yeah. I would record the cartoon one day a week. Yeah. And then, just doing theater every night.
And was the purpose of the theater, was it a passion thing, or was it this is going to help me build my skill sets for later? Both. Like how were you thinking about getting into theater? Because you were already on a great movie. You had this TV show. Like,
well, you mean like why theater and why not TV?
Why add theater versus like continuing down the cartoon
when you're an
route?
Actor in New York, you're not picky. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like especially when you're a kid, you're just going on all these auditions for TV shows, for movies, for, for everything, commercials. Right. And at some point, you get a job and you go do that job, and it doesn't matter what it is. You don't care what it is. You just want to be a working actor, you know?
Yeah. Got it. And did you nail some commercials during that period too?
Yeah, I actually did some Discovery Channel commercials. I did 4 of those. Yeah. I did Elio's Pizza, you know, I did all sorts. I was doing commercials through my 20s.
Nice.
That was always like a big part of my work.
Yeah. Yeah. And how long did you stick? I know you got a 4-year deal with that manager. Did you stick with her, or how did that continue to progress? I did through a lot longer than 4 years. I was with her until I moved out here, honestly. Yeah. And then it just didn't make sense because I lived out here and she was in New York. Yeah. And so you did the theater, as you said, when you were 11. Tell me more about like your teens and like how this all progressed. It sounds like you probably weren't doing the voice of Peanut for that much longer.
No, once my voice changed, they had to basically cancel the show. They by the end of it, they were like pitching my voice up, electronically, and yeah, and so that show ended after 65 episodes,
That's awesome.
which was very cool.
Yeah.
And soon after that, I went to the School for Performing Arts, LaGuardia High School in New York City. A lot of people know it as the Fame School. And not because everyone's famous, but because that was a show. And a show and a movie that was based on this school. It is what's considered like a pre-conservatory program, and you have to audition to get in. It's the only school in New York City that you have to audition to get into. And they have 5 studios, I believe: dance, drama, instrumental, art, and singing, vocal. And I auditioned, got in, and that really was one of the best times of my life, those 4 years at that school, because half your day you're doing whatever your studio is. So for me, it was drama, and I was, you go in, you do your classes, then you have lunch, and then the rest of your day is doing drama classes.
And like, I had a great high school experience, which I know most people can say, sounds like you did too, but I went to a little hippie private school in Ojai, but it was still more of a standard academic curriculum. And I just think about like half the day was spent in like art class or drama or PE. And like the idea of like, maybe just focus all that time to one thing that you're really focused on. If you're ready at that age to do that, I think there's a lot of benefit in that.
Absolutely. I mean, it was great. I mean, they had sports and gym and stuff like that, but if you were a dance major or a drama major, then you were doing dance. That was your physical education, was like different dance, and you're still being very active, but yeah, it was very focused on performance. Yeah.
And so during that time, were you still working a lot too? Like, was it the balance of?
I was working a lot, I did a couple movies. I did Sopranos. I did Squid and the Whale. I was doing commercials. And at the time, this was around the time I started dancing too. And I started dancing pretty seriously. I really wanted to be in a boy band. I saw No Strings Attached on HBO, and I was like, I think I can do that. And, I'd done a bunch of musical theater already. And so I was singing and wasn't great at dancing. And so I started going to these dance classes at Broadway Dance Center in New York City when I was 12. And I was doing hip hop, because I wanted to be in music videos and stuff. And so at first I was terrible. 6 months later, I'm not so terrible anymore. And then, a year after that, I'm in the front of the class. And then by the time I was 15, I started assisting my teacher. And then I started teaching my own classes by the time I was 16.
Wow. Got it. And did you end up doing some music videos or using it on the professional side?
I didn't. I performed at my school, and I did start a boy band for a while and was pursuing that. And we were dancing and the extent of that career just really ended up being a choreographer and a dance teacher. And it didn't progress beyond that, because by the time I was 18, I really had to kind of make a choice. Like, okay, am I going out to LA to be an actor, or am I going to try and become a choreographer and go like choreograph, the next pop group? That was sort of where my head was at. And, dancers have a shelf life and actors don't. So I went with acting.
Makes sense. And so throughout high school, were you like, LA is going to be the destination? Because like you were doing so well in New York, it seems like it's a big leap.
I wasn't. I always knew I'd probably spend some time in LA, but I didn't have this thought like, oh, I'm going to move to LA as soon as I'm 18. Like you said, I was doing pretty well in New York and didn't, I love doing theater and I wanted to keep doing theater. But ironically, right after I graduated high school, I booked a job in LA to do a play at the Amundsen Theater. And they relocated me out here, literally like a couple weeks after I graduated. And so, it was the perfect way for me to move to LA, right?
Yeah.
Because I had a job. I was immediately surrounded by friends, and really got to do a job that was very cool, and everyone in Hollywood saw it, and I got to meet every agent and casting director as a result of that play. Yep. And it really, I got a new agent and decided, okay, I'm just going to stay out here after this play. And that's what I did.
Did it just take off from there? Did you just start booking? Like, was it just,
no.
It's crazy. Like, most people don't get to say that pursue acting. Like, oh yeah, it started at 9 and it just kept going. So I'm curious.
Well, look, I mean, I was always hustling and never, I never popped really, I never like popped on some TV show or had some amazing role in a movie or something like that like made me a star. So for me, I was like, I was really a middle class working actor, where I was popping up on TV shows, doing an episode here, doing an episode there. By the time I was in my, early 20s, I got my first recurring role on a show. That's where you get to do more than one episode.
No.
Right?
Which show?
Oh, that was Veronica Mars.
Nice.
Veronica Mars, Rob Thomas, who created that show, is just a champion of mine. And I did one small role on an episode, and then they said, hey, we're going to bring you back. And then they brought me back. And then the third episode I did, it was just all me, and it was my story. And then after that, they like really made me a part of the show. And I ended up in a love triangle with one of the other series regulars. And, I really became a part of that show in a big way. And it, that was sort of the start of more substantial roles on TV.
Yeah.
And then, popping up on Suits and Supernatural and, My Name is Earl and Malcolm in the Middle, and just like popping up in all these shows. Weeds. I did a couple episodes of Weeds, just making a living, but not like, getting offers or becoming a star by any means. And that kind of took me through 2019. And that was when I first got my first series regular on Netflix.
And so just to lead up to that, so what year did you move out here? I don't know how exactly.
2005.
Okay. So you did 14 years of like regular work, paying the bills, again, you said not a blowout, but you middle class working actor.
Paying the bills.
Was there
with some slow, rough times of like, oh God, this might not work, Yeah.
And so, let's talk a little bit more about that. Like, I'm sure, and I think that's a lot of actors, like those slow, rough times. What were you just going to auditions all the time, just calling everyone you could and just keep pushing?
Yeah, you're auditioning constantly. You're, taking meetings with people. You're going out to lunch, and I'm also writing. I'm writing nonstop, trying to get my own stuff to be made, trying to create my own work, and that eventually culminated in 2012. I think I made my first short film, raised money on Kickstarter, like in the early days of Kickstarter, and made this short film that ended up doing like 100 film festivals around the world and won some awards. And really, I thought that was going to be like the beginning of my directing career. And it was like, no one cared after that, And so since then, that's been another part of my pursuit, has been writing and creating shows and movies that I can be in and make,
It's so funny how that works. Like you hit these points. It's kind of like, it goes both ways. You hit these things that you think are going to be like the most impactful piece of your career. Yeah. And then in hindsight, you're like, that was a fun day or a fun month or a fun year. And you're like,
Yeah.
Didn't
And
really
now no
wait.
one cares.
And
Now
vice
no one
versa happens
cares.
too, where you're like, I would have never thought that tiny decision, maybe for you, it's moving to LA, that like in the time was just like, oh yeah, I got this gig, I'm going to move to LA. And now it's like, here we are, 20 years
I think
later.
if anything, it's was me downloading TikTok.
Yeah.
I think that is sort of the thing that I thought, well, let me try this, and then completely changed my entire life and trajectory.
Yeah. And so let's go back to the Netflix thing. Tell me more about that. You ended the Netflix show.
Yeah. So 2019, 2018, 2019. I think 2018, I got my first pilot, which is a big deal. Pilot is like, first episode of a show that might go on to be picked up. And I was the star of this Amazon show that was written and directed by Terry Zwigoff, who made Ghost World and Bad Santa. And that was a big deal. Like that was a big validation for me. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're being taken seriously. I'm being taken seriously, and like I can star in a show.
Yeah.
And then that show did not get picked up.
Yeah.
and then I was back to hustling, trying to get another gig. And then boom, all of a sudden I go in for this multicam Netflix show starring Dennis Quaid, and I booked it, and it was already picked up for the first season. So it was straight to series, and we did 8 episodes of that. And it was like, that was also one of the, best experiences I've ever had.
Awesome. And so once you had that, did that, then the phone start ringing and here's the next thing we want you in, et cetera? No. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I did have a little bit of momentum after that show. I went on to work on LA's Finest and did a few episodes of that. And then I did a show called Carol's Second Act with Patricia Heaton on CBS. And so there was a little bit of momentum, but not like just hopping from show to show kind of thing. But I was feeling good. And then the pandemic happened, and everything grinded to a halt. And I had just downloaded TikTok and started posting videos on there, in a way that like was just very experimental, and I knew no one I knew was on there. So it was fine. And I didn't have to look cool or anything like that. And man, I really lucked out, because soon after the pandemic started percolating, I went viral for the first time. And then by the time the pandemic, it was so like I get on TikTok and everybody's doing comedy and dancing, right? That was it. It was dancing and comedy. Very little comedy, honestly.
Renegade was
Renegade. And you remember the Whoa?
Yeah.
The Whoa, right? So everybody was doing the Whoa.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me make a video where I make up a dance, and I'll call it the Alternative Whoa Challenge.
Yeah.
And so it was me going, the flow, the crow, the no, the row, the bro, the so. And that video just took off immediately.
It's so fun because in a light way, I mean, you've got the choreography background. So like, even though like it's humor, it's still like you got the dance background.
And I think that was something that subconsciously or not, people kind of picked up on. They're like, who is this dad like in a cardigan in his living room, like doing this kind of like nerdy dance, but also he's doing it really well. Like he's really hitting those moves, and that video immediately took off. Within hours, there were people using the sound and doing the dance. By that night, it had 1 million views. That was the first time I had hit 1 million views on anything. By the next morning, it had 5 million views. Yeah. And by the end of the week, it had 20 million views. And there were celebrities and sports mascots and news anchors all doing the dance. And then all of a sudden I get a call from my acting manager.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, some game company reached out and they want to license your dance." And I'm like, "What?" And I take a look and it's Epic Games and Fortnite licensed my dance.
That's amazing.
And now it's an emote that you can buy on Fortnite, and you hear my voice and the character does my dance. And that was the first money I ever made on social media. And that really was
that significant money. Like, I'm actually curious.
Well, at the time, it was very significant. It was, probably, I probably should have negotiated a better deal because it's still available on Fortnite and people pay for it. But, they were offering me a flat fee to license this thing. And I had never made money on social media, not like that. And so that really just like changed.
So was that 24 hours later or 48? How long did it take for that phone call to happen?
That was a couple weeks later.
A couple weeks. Okay.
That was a couple weeks later. Yeah.
It's just crazy how, as you said, how quick it can turn and just be like, oh.
And, I feel like I kind of skipped over a part that got me to TikTok in the first place, which was around 2014, 2015, like sort of in the Casey Neistat era, as I'm a struggling actor and filmmaker, I'm looking at this guy make incredible YouTube videos, and I became obsessed with, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do something like that. Maybe that could be my way forward. And man, I started vlogging and hustling on social media and trying to make something happen on Vine and on this thing, because I lost a couple pilots to Vine stars. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe this is the new currency in Hollywood. And this was back in 2015. This was 10 years ago. And so I was doing that hustle for quite a while, and I was able to, get tiny little wins on social media throughout those years before TikTok that kind of like kept me going. And, there was a company called Wow Air that it was this airline that held they did a Snapchat competition. And this was, again, in like 2016, I think. And they said they're going to pick 4 Snapchatters to be their Snap travelers. And they were going to send us around the world on their planes. And I won. And I submitted a Snapchat story, and I got one of those slots, and I ended up traveling the world and filming the whole thing.
It's amazing
for this airline. And this was before, they didn't pay, but they paid for everything. And that was like my first taste of like the creator life, and that, I was kind of on dual paths from that point forward, really trying to hustle as an actor and a filmmaker, but also really pursuing the social media thing in a real way.
Got it. And then, as you said, TikTok starts to get a little bit of buzz. You're like, I'll check it out. And then boom.
And then it just, yeah.
And do you remember how many followers ended up following you after that 20 million view video? Like,
man, I definitely started getting a very steady influx. It was hundreds of thousands for sure. And then, soon after that, maybe a month or two later, I hit 1 million followers. And then,
and so what was it like? Did you feel like, again, you said no one was following you on it that you knew? You could kind of have fun and goof off on TikTok. Now, all of a sudden, you've got success. Did that put pressure on, or did you just still continue to like just try things? And
yeah, it put pressure on in the sense that I'm like, I want this to work. So I was like, I have to keep this going. And I am the kind of way that I'm like, if I'm doing this, it's my job. It's so I was treating TikTok like my job. I would get up every morning and I would get to work and figure out what I was going to post that day. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, but I was working every day. And making sure that I'm getting a couple videos up every day. And at the time, I'm just like really trying to hit it.
Yeah. And did they have the rev share back then? Did you actually start making cash from that too? No. Okay.
No. Yeah. And I still don't make money from TikTok because I don't post videos that are over a minute.
Oh, is that what it takes?
Yeah. You no videos that are under a minute are monetized on TikTok.
Is that new? Because I posted a video. I have one viral video that wasn't even on purpose. Like I wasn't trying. And honestly, it's the most boring video ever. But it got 69 million views in a week. And
wow!
When I had 100 followers, it was like same kind of like. What? But this one wasn't like yours. Was like a cultural phenomenon. Mine was just the unveiling of a flying car. But it was literally like two guys pulling a sheet off a car, and it kind of looks cool.
Yeah, sure.
And that's it. Like it's 12 seconds long. But they sent me thousands of bucks for it.
You did?
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's possible that
early 20 or no, that was end of 21.
Yeah. Honestly, there was like a bonus program for a while and stuff like that, and like YouTube and Facebook are really the only platforms that have a consistent, CPM and you can actually make money from views on those platforms. The other ones is, they're kind of like fickle. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, Yeah.
And so, as you said, you hit 1 million followers in the first few months. How were you, like the videos after that? Did you start to gain momentum? Like that one worked. Now people kind of knew who you were. So like all these other videos started to work. Like how did you think through what your content was after the dance video?
Honestly, I had no idea. I was just like, okay, well, I was trying everything still. I was definitely trying to capitalize as much as I could on that video.
Yeah.
That's why I kept wearing the cardigan, because I happened to be wearing that cardigan in the video. And I'm like, well, I want people to know that was me. I'm the guy who was doing the dance, Yeah. And so I did that. And then I like came up with some more dances, which actually ended up taking off more than the original dance.
Yeah.
Same kind of format though. So I was already establishing formats that repeated and came back and were consistent in some way. And I was really just, doing trends and sounds and things like that. Eventually I stumbled on this series. I have no problem being silly in these things. And so there's an absurdity. I like absurdist humor. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I started doing was watching satisfying videos and duetting them and giving them accurate ratings. And I would just rate the videos 1 out of 10 silently with like numbers on the screen. And that took off. And that started very consistently getting me millions of views.
And why did you know? I know we talked about this a little bit offline, but like in terms of being silent, why did you not want to talk about it?
I didn't realize it. I was doing it at the time, but I think at some point I realized that when I do not speak, my videos do better. Now, one could surmise it's because people hate hearing me talk. But what I eventually realized, because I love analytics, I'm like diving into analytics. I like numbers. And I was realizing that those videos would do well all over the world. Mm-hmm. And it became clear to me after a while, like, oh, there is a reason why Charlie Chaplin was famous all over the world.
Yep.
There is a reason why Mr. Bean worked all over the world. And it's because if you can deliver content that is free of language, it can travel much farther.
Yep.
And most of this world does not speak English.
Yep.
There's a lot of people in this world and most of them don't speak English, but they all have iPhones most of them.
That's pretty crazy.
So I think that became not exclusively my content, but a big part of my content was basically just reactions.
Got it. And so how did you start to hone it? Like, as you said, you're into analytics. Obviously, you said you're doing these rating videos.
Yeah.
What did you start to discover that kind of found your voice on social media over time?
Well, it was just like, a mix between these like skits that either just involve me or me and my wife character, which is just me in a wig, who became, sort of ended up having a life of her own on TikTok. She's got over 200,000 followers on TikTok, my wife character. You know what I mean? So, I realized that people were really enjoying kind of feeling like they're part of this different world, and then figuring out formats, that I could repeat. Cause remember, the whole time I'm still auditioning, I'm still trying to work as an actor and write and pursue, my passion. So I always knew that whatever I'm doing on social media has to be somewhat sustainable. It has to be something that, cannot take up my entire life, because then I will have no time for what I'm actually doing this for in the first place. So I think that's another part of it. It was just figuring out that balance between, the amount of time it takes to make something and the effect it can have and how well it can do. I stumbled on a few formats doing that, like the news react thing that I was doing for a while. That became a big part of my content. And that's how people knew me for a while, was the guy who reacts to nightmare news headlines.
I still remember your Murder Hornet video. I think that's how I heard about it.
That was the first one. And that video did 10 million views. And at the time, that was unbelievable for me. And I started realizing, again, as I'm diving into analytics, okay, why did this video do so well? And it was because the shares were through the roof. And so then I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, why did this video get shared so much? Well, it's because one, they laughed. That's the first part. But then the second part is it delivered some information to them, right? Which was this news headline that they then wanted to share with other people and their family. And, oh my God, did you see this? And all of this stuff. And I love a growth hack. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and do this 1,000 times. And people loved it. And it wasn't a high amount of effort for me, but it worked really well. And then, eventually it becomes time to evolve and turn and find new formats.
And during this period, how was the more traditional acting career going? Were you getting other TV shows?
You know what? Once the pandemic happened, we had that for quite a while, and that really devastated. And then the strike, and so the industry was devastated by both of those events. And I popped up on a couple shows during that time, but it wasn't until last year that I started to see my success on social media start to translate into success in the acting world.
And
I booked this movie pretty much because of this movie called My Weird School that's coming out next year for Paramount, Nickelodeon. And that pretty much happened because of social media. Yeah. I mean, look, I think I had to be able to act my way out of a paper bag to get the role, but ultimately, I think, I come with a huge value add to these projects now. And I think that changes things for me.
And so to the social media side, how has that turned into a career, monetizing it, making money off it? You still find yourself a middle-class actor? Has it gone pretty well?
No, social media has become my main revenue stream. It has taken the pressure off a great deal of my, desperation for acting jobs. And it has given me the freedom to be more picky about the things I even audition for, which is great. But soon after that viral video, I started getting hit up by brands, and brands started reaching out, and I started doing some brand deals. And then I got a manager on the digital side, and, those start rolling in, and my whole life really changed. You know,
Yeah.
um, man, I was so fortunate too, because between the pandemic and the
Yeah.
strike,
Right.
it could have gotten real dark, you know?
Yeah.
And I was so fortunate. I feel so lucky that happened, because it saved my life.
And I respect that in a lot of ways, that you look at it as lucky, even though it was 10 years or, 8 years of working on social media to make it happen. And you just, I know the luck was it happened that way, but you also were someone you were always looking at what else is coming, what else can I be doing? And there's, kind of a
Absolutely.
make your own luck too.
Yeah. Look, I think that that's a big part of it. And you do have to like put in effort if you're going to get lucky. But I have no illusions
Yeah.
that, I deserve it or whatever,
Right.
because I've been an actor for 30 years now.
Yeah.
30 years. So I know what it's like to put in way more than 10 years on something and not be getting the results that you want. And so, yeah,
what got you to stick with it? Was it just the love of it? Like, cause like, as you said,
acting,
there were hard times where you weren't sure what was going to happen. Like, what kept you going?
dude, nothing makes me happier.
Love
Just
that.
nothing makes me happier than getting to put on, somebody else's life for uh, a play or a show or something, and getting to play with actors on set and being a part of that process. It is not just what makes me happiest, but I truly believe it is what I am best at.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at social media, but I think no one's seen everything I can do as an actor yet, you know?
Yeah. And on that note, a couple more questions, but number one, what's next?
Oh man, so much stuff. Well, I just launched my podcast with my buddy
Hey.
Ryan Eggold, Small
Yeah.
Stupid Stuff, which is available on all platforms
There you go.
and on YouTube. So I had to plug that.
Yeah, please.
Pretty excited about that project. And then I sold a movie last year that I'm hoping to make in the beginning of next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just finished writing another movie that I'm excited to go out with. I have a couple shows that I'm developing. So, always have a bunch of stuff in development, TV, film. And then, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, listen, the last 2 years, 18 months to 2 years have been so insane for me on social media that I'm really excited to see what comes after that. Cause I thought I hockey sticked in 2020, but I didn't really experience true growth in an extreme global way until the last 2 years, really. And it's been, it has changed my life even more. And I'm excited about the opportunities that stuff has been bringing and continues to bring moving forward. Yeah.
Love it. And last question for you. For someone that is pursuing their dreams and wants to, achieve the highest level in whatever it is, whether it is in acting or it's in athletics or it's in business, what would be one piece of advice you either got or wish you got that helped you get to where you are?
Honestly, I've gotten a lot of like great advice over the years, but I think the thing that it all boils down to, I actually heard Seth Rogen say this. He said, the difference between people who make it and people who don't is the people who made it never quit. And that's really, I mean, it sounds simple and stupid, but the truth is that if you quit, you definitely won't make it, you know? And the only way to survive in any entertainment type industry is to be applying constant pressure, right? And moving forward and constantly and not getting not releasing pressure because of discouragement. You know what I mean? You just keep applying that pressure, eventually something breaks, you know? But if you stop, it definitely won't break, you know, and nothing will happen. And so I think, and look, and I want to be realistic too. And I want to say it is important that along the way, especially after 10 years, 20 years, you've had little wins here and there. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean you've had to have become a star by that point, but you need to be self-aware enough to have signals that say you're doing the right thing and you're on the right track, and you need to be able to see that, because of course there will be situations where you're pursuing a dream for 10 years, but you never, you know, like my basketball career, you know, like it will never happen for me. And I needed to just know that earlier on, you know? But aside from that, you know, when you're dealing with things that are more subjective, like artistic endeavors, you know, it's an endless pursuit, and plan to apply that constant pressure forever. And if you love it, then it won't matter that it didn't break yet, you know? And then when it does break, you'll be like, oh, okay, great. But
that resonates more than you know. I think that's exactly right, and appreciate that. Well, Adam, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on HawkeTalk.
Thanks, Eric, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.